What's up, guys? So today we're going to be doing the iPhone 11 versus the iPhone 16. This is a comparison that I was really interested in, so I wanted to kick it off with this one first. A lot of you guys have an iPhone 11 still. You want to know, is it worth the upgrade? So let's go ahead and find out here. So let's start off with the hardware differences here. So you can see the cameras actually are kind of the same in the same placement now. They moved it so Apple could do the spatial video. You can see that they're a little bit bigger as well too. So you have bigger sensors on here. And one of the things you'll notice is you have a matte finish on the iPhone 16, so you don't get those smudges, and you have a glossy back on the 11 here, which depending on the color you won't see the smudges, but you can see them at a kind of like at an angle. But depending on the color, it's actually not a big deal. So when you come to the side of the phone here, let's see here, iPhone 11 is a bit taller as well, and I think the iPhone 11 still is, well, actually the 16 is actually a little bit more comfortable now since it's a little bit smaller. It's not as rough on the edges as well too. So yeah, so I do think this is a little bit more comfortable. But both of these phones are pretty comfortable. What you will notice is a new button, which I think is one of the worst moves Apple has done. It is their, I don't know what they call this thing, the capture button. It's a very useless camera slider. Like, I know, guys, I'm trying to give it, like, I'm trying to not be negative about this, but I just don't get it. The reason why I don't like it is because the placement of it is extremely awkward. It's all the way down here, so like, yeah, it just feels really weird to come down here and kind of like take pictures and slide. So it's supposed to be like this, but a lot of people shoot TikToks and take pictures like this. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's kind of weird. This is also supposed to be an AI button, kind of like Google Lens as well. But the button placement is, I'm not a fan of at all. Also, you will notice here the button, your vibrate mute switch has changed to basically a universal button. You can put whatever you want right here. So you can put YouTube, music, put whatever you want right there, which is something that I really like. You do have IP68 dust and water resistant on both of these phones as well too. Alright, so let's talk about the displays. This is a pretty decent upgrade here. So you will be moving from the dynamic or the notch to the dynamic island. The bezels are much slimmer as well too, so it gives it a a much more modern look. And then you also do have on the 16 an OLED panel, and it does have a 6.1 inch display. It is 2000 nits peak brightness. I'll have a YouTube short outside in direct sunlight, but it is much brighter, guys. So if you're at the beach or something like that, you will be able to see your phone way better. And then it also is 1179 by 2556 resolution, 460 for the PPI. So a very high resolution, very nice display on the iPhone 16. The iPhone 11 has an IPS panel. It's 625 nits. Not that bright in direct sunlight. It is also a 720p plus display as well, so the resolution is not as high, and then it's 326 for the PPI. But the iPhone 11's display is pretty decent. Every time I say the specs, it sounds like it should look worse than it actually does in real life, but the reality is that it looks fine, right? The colors aren't as vibrant, right? And the brightness isn't as good. And also it does look a little bit outdated with the gigantic notch. But besides that, guys, it's a decent display. But yes, I consider this a pretty decent upgrade as far as the display. The only thing that's really missing here is the 120 hertz. There's no 120 hertz. There's no 90 hertz. I don't know why Apple continues to, put out a phone that's close to $1,000 with a 60 hertz panel. Now, granted, it is a smooth 60 hertz panel. I'm not sure if Apple users or people who love iPhones really care about it. That might be it. But yeah, I really would like to see the at least 90 hertz come down to the base model. Let's talk about the speed here. So obviously we have a much better Geekbench score. It's a much faster chipset, the Apple A18 chip. Now, these phones were built for the Apple Intelligence. So we actually have 8 gigs of RAM here. This is 128 gigs of internal storage. And on the iPhone 11, we have the Apple A13 chip. And then we also have 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM. Both of these phones are running iOS 18 as well. too. And honestly, you will notice it is a much smoother experience. I wouldn't say it's necessarily faster getting into applications. So we'll just do a little speed test. So you can see the iPhone 16 is faster, but I wouldn't say it's like super dramatic. So you guys can see, you'll probably notice it a little bit more when it comes to like getting into games and stuff like that. I think that was like noticeably faster. Also, you'll notice in the animations, there's less like little jitters and stutters with the iPhone 16. It's a much smoother device in general. So you can see, pretty fast, but you would have to make the decision. I don't think that's like a significant speed difference, but it is much faster when it comes to gaming and stuff like that, and overall animations and smoothness. You will notice it is a faster device. Alright, so let's talk about the gaming experience. So the gaming experience on the 16 will be a lot better. It does not get as hot as the iPhone 11. And then also, if you're playing games that are a little bit more intense like Genshin, you will get better performance. Now, when it comes to the overall casual gamer, I'm not sure if the casual gamer will really notice too much of a difference, because even for a game like PUBG here, because this phone has a limited display, there's no 90 frames option for PUBG, so you can't really enjoy like a smoother gaming experience if you're a casual gamer. So I would say, yes, this is a decent upgrade for any people who play a lot of games on their phone, but I would also say this phone not being able to do 90 120 frames because of the display is kind of a letdown. But if we're just comparing the 11 to the 16, yes, it is a better gaming experience. But the interesting thing about the iPhone 11 here is it's not really a weak processor at all. You can see it still can play at HDR Extreme, it can play at 60 frames, and it's pretty smooth. So I don't have like an actual issue with playing games on the iPhone 11. Like I said, if we booted up something a little bit more heavier like Genshin, then yeah, you'll notice a difference. But for a casual gamer coming in here playing a couple matches, the iPhone 11 is still fine. So I don't think it's that big of an upgrade in that regard. But yeah, you would have to make that decision based on what kind of gamer you are. So I do want to talk about software. So both these phones are running iOS 18 here. So the big thing is Apple Intelligence, right? Now, Apple Intelligence has not launched, so it's just a regular Siri and all the regular stuff. It makes this comparison very awkward because that's one of the main things that Apple was talking about, but they didn't launch it. It'll launch like next month. We don't know when next month though. Could be like at the end of next month. But yeah, so Apple Intelligence is a thing if you're interested in ChatGPT being built in and all the cool AI features, then you'll definitely like the 16 for that. If you could care less, then that's probably another reason why you probably don't have to upgrade. But let's talk about software lifespan here. The iPhone 11 should be coming close to its lifespan. So the iPhone XS is running iOS 18, which means that this one should get iOS 19. So I wouldn't be surprised if this got iOS 19. I'd be shocked if it didn't, because it's running iOS 18 so smoothly. So definitely take that into consideration. The iPhone 16, Apple typically does 6 years of updates. So just so you know how the software stuff is going to work. Let's go ahead and compare the speakers and see if we got a upgrade here. We'll start with the 11. Yeah, so the iPhone 16 has a much better speaker. The quality of it is better. It almost makes the iPhone 11 sound a little bit flat in comparison as far as like the bass and overall quality of the speaker and how it's tuned is just much better. So this is definitely a nice speaker upgrade here for sure. So let's talk about the cameras. This is what a lot of people care about here. And you guys can be the judge if you think this is a worthy upgrade. I think it really comes down to, do people think these pictures are better? Alright, so with the iPhone 11, it has a dual camera setup, 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide, shoots in 4K 60, 12 megapixel selfie, shoots in 4K 60. With the iPhone 16, you also have a dual camera setup, a much bigger sensor at 48 megapixels, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can also shoot in 4K 60 with a 12 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60 as well. Also, one thing to note about the 16 is that you do have a macro mode on here now as well too, so you can take really nice close-up shots. And you will notice here that you also have a cinematic mode on here as well. And those are like the main features that you will notice here. But I'm going to show you guys these side-by-side stills in video, and you guys can let me know, what do you guys think? Is this a worthwhile camera upgrade? Alright guys, let's talk about battery life and just the overall battery life experience here. It's going to be a much better experience, guys. The iPhone 16 has a much bigger battery, or not like much bigger, but it has a bigger battery, and overall the chip is just more efficient, so standby time is better, screen on time is going to be better. You could definitely get through the day. Even if this one had a new battery, you still wouldn't get as good a battery life as the iPhone 16. Also, one thing that you'll notice, both of these phones have wireless charging, but you now do have the access to the MagSafe stuff as well too, and then you also do have the reverse wired charging as well. So battery life experience, I would say if you're upgrading for battery life, it is a good upgrade for battery life. Standby, screen on time, you can game without having to worry about your phone draining like crazy or heating up. So I do like it for that. So I'm very curious, do you guys think this is a worthwhile upgrade? I think this is overall a solid upgrade. Is it a necessary upgrade? I'm not really sure. It really comes down to what you thought about the cameras and what you think about gaming as well. The screen I think is a good upgrade, even though there's no high refresh rate. Hardware wise, it's okay. The iPhone 11 doesn't look that old to me. And then also you do have the Apple Intelligence stuff, which again, we don't really know. We can't really get my hands on it right now because it's not out yet. But other than that, you know, I think this is somewhat of a decent upgrade. It's not like a crazy upgrade for me. I think the screen having 60 hertz really but what do you guys think?